Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to a neighborhood in the Dominican Republic called Villa Francisca.
Oh, cool.
Through this short story called La Sospecha.
Okay.
Which translates to The Suspicion. And let me tell you, there's definitely suspicion in the air in this story.
I like it already.
So we've got a young woman, a secretive mother, and a neighborhood that's terrified of this child-stealing bruja.
A bruja?
Yeah, a witch.
Oh, wow.
So what secrets are hiding beneath the surface?
Well, I don't know.
Let's find out.
Okay, the title itself is so intriguing. I mean, it really sets the stage for a story where things are not what they seem. And, you know, that feeling of unease just permeates the entire story.
Absolutely. And right away, we're just dropped into this bustling neighborhood, right? We got markets, narrow alleyways. And you get this feeling that there's this really strong sense of community.
Yeah.
Everyone knows everyone else's business, which can be both comforting and a bit suffocating, do you think?
Oh, for sure. It definitely creates this pressure cooker atmosphere, especially when fear takes hold. And that fear stemming from the belief in the bruja really drives the story.
Yeah, speaking of the bruja, the townspeople's descriptions of her are so vivid.
Right.
See, they talk about her leaping across rooftops, lurking in shadows, and preying on innocent babies.
Oh, my God.
So it makes you wonder, where does the folklore blend with reality in this story?
That's a great question. The author of La Sospecha, Belkis Gabot, she doesn't really shy away from the darker aspects of Dominican folklore, but she also kind of weaves in these subtle hints that maybe, just maybe, there's more to the story than what you see on the surface.
It's like she's inviting us to kind of question what we believe, to look beyond the surface and consider some alternative explanations for what's going on.
Exactly, and that's where the character of the narrator comes in.
Okay.
So we have a 20-year-old woman.
Right.
She's yearning for some independence. You know, she wants a normal life. But she's constantly pulled back into her mother's world of secrecy and paranoia.
Their relationship is so contrite. I mean, the mother is fiercely protective, even possessive, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they share a bed, and she monitors her daughter's every move. I mean, it's almost like she's afraid of her daughter's potential, wouldn't you say?
There's definitely a sense that the mother's trying to control her daughter, to keep her sheltered from something, and that something might be connected to the very thing that the community fears the most, the bruja.
And then we have Angela, the abripa vendor, whose baby falls ill. This is what really kicks off the panic about the bruja, right?
Yes, exactly. The sick baby becomes the catalyst for the community's fear. And suddenly all those whispered rumors about the child-stealing bruja become a terrifying reality.
It's so fascinating how the story shows just how fast fear can spread through a community, especially when it's rooted in these really deeply held beliefs.
And that fear leads to some drastic actions.
Oh, yeah.
So the community decides to organize a witch hunt.
A whole witch hunt.
It's a desperate attempt to just get rid of the threat that they're perceiving.
There's also that suggestion of like offering the child as a godson to the bruja.
Oh, yeah.
Which is so chilling.
It's scary.
But also, it's like a testament to how much they believe in the supernatural.
Right. It's like a reflection of their desperation. They're willing to do whatever it takes to protect their children. But it also highlights the moral complexities of their situation. Like, how far are they willing to go in order to appease this evil?
Yeah, and as the community's getting ready for this witch hunt, our narrator starts to suspect that her own mother might be the bruja.
Oh, wow.
I know. And it makes sense, though, because her suspicions are fueled by these little snippets of gossip that she overhears and just her own observations of her mother's strange behavior.
Remember, the mother is reclusive, she's quick to anger, and it just seems like she's hiding something.
It's like the narrator's looking for an explanation for her mother's eccentricities, and the idea of the bruja provides this convenient, albeit terrifying answer.
Yeah, and it's also important to remember that the narrator is at a point in her life where she really wants independence and normalcy, and her mother's secrets and her unusual behavior really clash with those desires.
Totally. And then comes the night of the hunt.
Oh, boy.
The narrator wakes up in the middle of the night. Her mom is missing. And she runs out into the night, following the sounds of this panicked mob. It's like a scene straight out of a movie, just full of tension and a sense of impending doom.
Absolutely. And as she's running through those familiar alleyways, she's drawn to Angela's house by this rain of stars that are scattered on the ground.
I love this image of stars in this dark alleyway. It creates this like momentary sense of wonder amidst all the chaos.
Right.
But we learn pretty quickly that these aren't stars at all, are they?
No, they're not. Just as the narrator reaches out to touch these stars, her mother appears
Oh no.
and frantically sweeps them all away.
What are they?
They're mustard seeds.
Mustard seeds. That's such a strange detail. I mean, it feels almost symbolic, right?
It definitely is. And her mother's reaction to the seeds, the fear, the desperation, suggests that they hold a much deeper significance beyond just being mustard seeds.
And her plea for her daughter to wake up and leave the seeds alone is just another layer of intrigue. Like she's trying to protect her daughter from something, but we still don't know what.
And this is where the story takes this crazy, unexpected turn. So the mother's plea triggers this memory for the narrator.
Okay.
It's this dreamlike encounter with Angela's baby. Like the narrator was somehow connected to the baby, but the nature of that connection is totally unclear.
This is where I started to question everything I thought I knew about this story. What if the danger isn't coming from some outside force like a bruja, but from inside the narrator herself?
That's a really insightful observation. The story seems to be hinting at this power within the narrator, a power that might be linked to these mysterious mustard seeds.
And the mother, knowing about this power, has been trying to shield her daughter from it all this time, trying to protect her from the consequences that it might bring.
It completely changes how we understand the story. The bruja, the witch hunt, the community's fear.
Yep.
It might all be a misinterpretation of something much more personal, much more internal.
And that brings us to one of the most important questions that this story asks. What exactly is the narrator?
Right.
Is she even aware of her actions or of this power that she might have?
That's a question that we'll have to keep exploring as we dive deeper into La Sospecha. That whole thing with the mustard seeds and the narrator's memory of Angela's baby, it really throws a wrench into things. It's like we thought we knew what this story was about.
Right. At first we're thinking, okay, the threat is this mythical bruja, but now we have to consider that maybe the danger is coming from inside the narrator.
Exactly, and that's what makes La Sospecha so interesting. It flips everything on its head.
So if she does have this power, what does it even mean? What are the implications here?
Well, it really changes how we think about the bruja. Instead of an evil witch, maybe the witch is actually just this normal young woman, someone who doesn't even understand her own abilities.
It's such a different way of looking at things. It makes you wonder how many other stories we believe that are really just based on fear and misunderstanding.
It also makes you think about power itself. Is it good or evil? Or is it just a tool that can be used in different ways?
People have been debating that question forever. La Sospecha doesn't give us a clear answer, but it definitely suggests that how we understand and use power is really important.
And the story also shows how dangerous fear can be. The villagers are so afraid of the bruja that they're ready to do anything to get rid of her, even if it means hurting someone. And because of that, they can't even see the truth.
And it's actually the narrator who might really have this power that's the most afraid. She's scared of what she could do, of what might happen if she loses control.
Which brings us back to the idea of identity. She wants to be normal to fit in, but her mother's secrets and this connection to the mustard seeds, they set her apart.
Yeah, she's caught between wanting a normal life and this power that she has.
And her mom's always warning her, trying to stop her from doing things. It just makes the whole situation worse.
I wonder if the mother's just trying to protect her or if there's something else going on.
It's hard to say. She definitely loves her daughter, but maybe all her fear and worry is making it hard for her to see things clearly.
Maybe she's trying to stop her daughter from making the same mistakes she made.
And because of that, they end up being really isolated, always moving, always hiding.
It's a reminder that everyone has secrets, things that weigh us down.
So let's talk about those mustard seeds for a minute. They seem so unimportant, but they're a really big part of the story.
I'm still not sure what they mean. They seem to represent her power, but also something dangerous.
Yeah, and that's the key. Mustard seeds can be used for healing, but they can also be harmful.
It's like they show both the good and the bad sides of nature.
And that's reflected in the narrator. She could use her power to help people or to hurt them.
That's a scary thought. What if she's like a channel for some kind of life force that can be used in either way?
And that brings us to the question, does she even know what she's doing? Does she choose to use her power, or is it out of her control?
The story doesn't really give us an answer. We don't know for sure what happens with Angela's baby, or if she meant to do anything.
I think the author wants us to think about how much we're really in control of our own actions.
And all of this happens in the Dominican Republic, a place where people believe in the supernatural.
Right, you can't ignore that part of the story. The belief in things like brujas really shapes how the characters see the world.
It's like our beliefs, whether they're true or not, really affect how we live. They can help us or trap us.
And those beliefs are often passed down from parents to children.
Just like the mother who's trying to protect her daughter from a world she thinks is full of danger.
But in doing so, she might be trapping her daughter in the same cycle of fear that she's trying to escape.
It's really sad. She's trying to do the right thing, but it might be doing more harm than good.
It shows how complicated relationships between mothers and daughters can be, how love and fear can get all mixed up.
Maybe the story's trying to say that true freedom comes from accepting who we are, even the parts we're afraid of.
And from challenging the things we were taught to believe. It's about being brave enough to find our own way.
And that's a message everyone can understand no matter what they believe.
It's about figuring out who we are, questioning what we were told, and finding our own path.
I can't stop thinking about that ending with the mother and daughter leaving Villa Francisca as the sun's coming up. Feels like there's both hope and uncertainty there.
Yeah, it's like they're leaving behind their whole life, their home, everyone they know, their past. But they're also going into the unknown. Who knows what will happen to them?
And that's what makes it so interesting, right? We don't know what their future holds, but you get this feeling like their journey isn't over.
Exactly. It's not like those stories that wrap everything up perfectly. It leaves you with questions, makes you think about the choices they made and what might happen next.
Like, will they ever be able to escape all that fear and secrecy that's always been a part of their lives? Or will they always be looking over their shoulder, afraid that someone's going to find them?
And what about her powers? Will she figure out how to use them, or will they just cause more problems for her?
The story doesn't give us any answers. And I actually think that's part of what makes it so good. It lets us come up with our own ideas about what happens next.
It all makes you think about your own life. What experiences have shaped how you see the world? What secrets do you keep? What choices have led you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's like the story's holding up a mirror to us, making us look at our own fears and the things we're capable of.
And it reminds us that everyone is on their own journey. A journey of figuring out who they are and changing and growing. And it's never simple or easy.
Right, it's full of ups and downs and unexpected turns.
But it's through those challenges that we learn about ourselves. We discover what really matters to us.
I think that's the biggest message of La Sospecha. It's about being okay with not knowing what's going to happen, accepting the parts of ourselves that we don't like, and finding the courage to make our own choices even when it's scary.
It's also about how powerful our beliefs are, like the villagers believing in the bruxa so much that it almost becomes real. Their fear takes on a life of its own.
And the narrator believing in what she could do for good or bad ultimately shapes how she uses her powers. It shows how our beliefs about the world can affect our choices. So as we finish up our deep dive into La Sospecha, we want to leave you with one final thought.
What stories are you telling yourself? What do you believe in? And are those beliefs helping you or holding you back?
Those are good questions to think about. Because if we really examine our beliefs and question the things we think we know, we can live more fulfilling lives.
Exactly. It's all about finding our own truth.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into La Sospecha. We hope you enjoyed exploring Dominican folklore with us. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.